Good.
Offensive coordinator, wide receivers coach, Mike Shanahan. We'll start with Mike and then go to Zach.
Mike, you've had to kind of mix and match on the offensive line basically since the start of November, more than you've had to kind of your tenure here. What's kind of been the challenges of that? Do you ultimately believe that kind of gives you more options, especially with this layoff kind of going into the Alabama game now that you got 7 guys basically ready to kind of start for you?
Yeah, I feel good with all those guys that have been in there playing. Obviously some injuries had led to that shuffle, but now that we're back to basically full strength, we feel good about all those 7, like you mentioned. As far as challenges, just getting all those guys ready to go in practice, getting them all working together. But the accumulation of reps, Coach Bostad and Coach Lees, they do a great job working outside of the team periods in practice and that sort of thing to get those guys all working together. Have a lot of confidence in that group as a whole. And, whoever's out there playing, I feel good that they're going to get the job done.
All right, we'll go Zach and then Jim.
Coach Ignetti and Omar both have talked about like the challenge for him this year has been kind of the consistency of his habits and the way that those lead to his success. Where have the moments been that you've seen, whether it's spring practice, off season, obviously in season, or have there been specific moments you can remember, I guess, where you sort of said a year ago maybe he's not quite that consistent, a year ago maybe he's not quite that sharp or quite that polished, that you can sort of think in your mind that's him having taken that step forward we needed?
Yeah, there's not one moment that sticks out to me right now. I've always felt with Coop, it hasn't been a drastic thing for him to take, from step 1 to step 2. It's been very minute, small things. Just his play in general up to this point this year has been overall really consistent. There's little lapses from time to time that we address with him, and typically he's the type of kid that will get it fixed the next time we go out there. So I just feel like overall he's just gotten a better sense of the offense. We can play him at different positions, and whenever the balls come his way, he's done a good job making the plays. And he's been out there, with the exception of the injury that he had against Ohio State. He's been healthy and available all year, which wasn't necessarily the case last year. So it was good to see him get back in the fold and getting back out there in practice, and hopefully he'll be out there again this week.
We'll go Jim and then Rabbi.
Coach, prolific offenses are generally based off of precision. How do you stay so game precise when you aren't playing these games? I know it's a question that comes up a lot, but
Yeah.
You practice a lot, obviously, but there's a difference between practice and games.
Yeah, for sure. Well, number one, our scout team gives us a really good look, and those guys are capable at all 3 levels. You've got a lot of good young players over there that are doing a great job pushing us, and we haven't been approaching those periods as let the offense have success, so to speak. So those guys are pushing us to be on point with our details. We're getting a lot of different looks, and they're doing a good job executing it. But I do feel like our guys will be ready to play. I mean, shoot, we're playing the Rose Bowl college football playoff game against a great opponent. So there might be a slight adjustment early in the game, but I feel like our guys will be ready to go, and the experience within our group, I think, will help us there as well.
Go Rabbi on your right and then Daniel.
Yeah, Coach, I'm working on a story about Surratt and Coop becoming one of the elite receiving duos in the country. I'd like a coach's eye. Like, what are the specific skills on each one that make them an elite guy?
Yeah, I'll start with Elijah. He always seems to be at his best in those big moments. Just throughout the year, Oregon, Iowa. Last week or against the Big Ten championship game against Ohio State, making the touchdown catch in the corner of the end zone there. I feel like he kind of has a clutch factor about him, but just his ball skills, he's a really intelligent receiver. He can diagnose coverages, anticipates well, understands when to find voids in the zone, and then he does a good job separating versus man-to-man and making tough catches. As far as Omar, he does a really good job down the field, his explosiveness, his ability after the catch. We don't have to necessarily design crazy routes for him. We just got to get him the ball, and knowing that he can break tackles, make things happen on his own. He's done an excellent job of that this year. And then, you add those 2 guys and EJ, brings a little bit of a different factor to our offense. Charlie Becker has stepped up with his opportunities, as everybody's seen. So allowing the defense or making the defense focus on different parts of the offense, different players, I also think have allowed those two to flourish. But those are some of the specific skills, and both of those guys do a great job tracking the football and making the routine plays as well.
Standing around with Daniel and go to Pete.
As a guy who has to see Haynes scheme each week, just what makes it so good, and just from when he kind of emerged in the role, I think it was 2021, where have you just kind of seen him grow and evolve?
Yeah, I tell people all the time, going against Haynes' in our defense, the defensive staff over there, they do a great job. It makes for some long days and nights in spring ball and fall camp for us on offense at times, but they really make you they force you to have really sound rules, which I think benefits us when we get into the season from an offensive perspective. But they are never just sitting there letting you diagnose coverage or up front. They're moving, they're twisting, they're doing all kinds of things to make the offensive line get challenged and the tight ends all be on the same page. So schematically, they just pose all kind of issues for you. But Coach Haynes, just over the years, I feel like his scheme has continued to evolve, get better. Coach Kuntz and those guys do a great job as well. So just the whole unit is paying the butt to go against, to be quite frank with you. But at the end of the day, it makes us better. So we're grateful.
We'll go to Pete and then Nicole.
Yeah, Coach, right there, the success you've had with quarterbacks. When was the last time you had a quarterback that started 2 consecutive seasons, and then the ability to have this success? And then this is more of an in the weeds question. Do you focus on pre-snap or post-snap in terms of the quarterback? But what's maybe more important? There was a game between Phillip Rivers and Brock Purdy that was sort of like a contrast in styles. One was pre-snap, one was post-snap. But just your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time we had a starter that was back-to-back, to answer your first question there. I guess really since I became the offensive coordinator with Coach Signetti, we've had a new quarterback every year. But I feel like for that guy to have success, all starts up front with the offensive line. We're very fortunate here. We got a lot of good players up front, a lot of experience, starting with Pat Coogan and then just going across the board there with Bray and Drew, having great experience and doing a great job for us. And then Carter, Damola, Khalil, all those guys doing their jobs, really, allowing that guy to have success back there. We always strive to be balanced. And part of that is our RPO system that a lot of people talk about. But just keeping the defense off balance with the play calling and the schematics from week to week from what we see on film. But a lot of it is really a combination of both, to answer your last question there, the pre-snap and post-snap indicators. I mean, nowadays it's really hard to just cut the field in half and say, do this versus this coverage and that versus that, with all the disguises and the things that the defenses have evolved to. So we have a little bit of everything in the pass game, where progressions and quick game concepts, play actions, pushing the ball down the field. Try to have a lot of multiples, and this year just trying to do what Fernando does best. And with all the quarterbacks, though, with the ones that we've had, Fernando can touch areas of the field with the ball that some of the other ones haven't, and that's, I think, opened another aspect of our offense that we've been able to take advantage of this year.
We'll go to Nicole and then Luke.
We talked a lot about the long break between these 2 games. How have you seen the guys been able to stay focused throughout these 3.5 weeks, but then also potentially dial it up this week now that we're getting closer to the game and an opponent is known?
Yeah, I think it all starts with Coach Signetti and his schedule that he's put together since our the Big Ten championship game up until now. And I feel like the guys know, first of all, what's in front of them, the opportunity there. It shouldn't be that hard for them to focus when we're out there on the practice field in the meetings, getting ready to play a great team and in the situation that we're in. As far as on the field, I think the guys do a real good job of understand that what we do in practice is going to carry over to the games. and the proof is in the pudding throughout the year. I feel like that's been the edge that we've had. We've put good days together, stacked good meetings, good practices, and next thing you know, we are where we are in the season. So just taking it one day at a time. I do feel like I said, it'll be maybe a slight adjustment early in the game, but I trust our guys in their preparation to go out there and be ready to go from play one.
We'll go on your left to Lou, and the last one to Zach.
This is a two-part question. The first part was when Coach Signetti asked if you wanted to come along to Indiana, did he paint much of a picture of what you were facing? I know that Scott Dolson did to him. And then the second part of that, since you've been here, and we just had Pat Coogan talking about the overwhelming community reception of people coming up to him, thanking him, and older fans and things. Have you personally experienced that?
Yeah, so to answer your first question, he did not paint much of a picture for me, but it wasn't really a doubt in my mind that I would be coming with him if he gave me the opportunity. The funny thing was I actually did a little research on my own and saw that they were in a lot of close games the year prior to us getting here, even though the record wasn't great. It felt like they were very competitive in a lot of those Big Ten games in particular. So that to me was a real positive. And to answer your second question, I have had a lot of, or not a lot, but I had some people in the community that I've gotten to know, thank me and the team. And I do feel like that's been one of the coolest parts about being here over 2 years is just the support that we've gotten from the students, all the community in Bloomington, the alumni, and former players, just everybody reaching out and taking a lot of pride in what we've been able to accomplish up to this point.
Last one in the room on your left to Zach, and then we'll go to Zach Browning on the Zoom.
I forget where it was. It was late in the season. Coach Signetti said that basically every time he's gotten on the headset this year, he felt like and sort of said, "Are you sure that's what you want to call?" The play went for an explosive that it turned out really, really well. What's that dynamic with him as a coach? Obviously, he's got a strong offensive background. You've been with him a long time, so I imagine the two of you, collaborate well. You've kind of learned each other's tendencies and things. What are the things that maybe you think, but in that relationship, bring out the best in both of you when you're building offensive game plans, or even just in game offensively adjusting and things like that?
Yeah, well, first of all, I've learned a lot from Coach Sig over the years. Even though, his role as a head coach, he's got a lot on his plate. I feel like the one thing that I really admire about him is just his work ethic, his preparation throughout the week, getting ready to play a game. And he sees the game, being on the field, maybe a little slightly different than what I can see up in the press box. So whenever he makes a suggestion, or whether it's Coach Bostad, Coach Whitmer, Coach Miller, whoever it is on our offensive staff, I feel confident in those guys. If they're recommending something, to get to it at some point. But our dynamic, obviously each year we get more familiar with each other and pushing each other to come up with the best plans, and then on game day, executing it the best we can to put the players in best position to be successful. At the end of the day, that's all we're trying to do. Sometimes, like you mentioned, whenever I call something, somebody might not be feeling it, but a lot of credit to the players for making it happen, regardless of the defense or the down distance whenever it comes up in the game. So it's been a lot of fun, just every week going through the process with Coach Sig and the other guys on the offensive staff.
All right, we'll go to Zach B. and then Mike.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to ask about Fernando and what specific qualities make him so good in this RPO scheme, and how quickly on this season you realized he'd be able to have so much success in this RPO-heavy scheme.
Yeah, well, Fernando's got a lot of special qualities about him. Number one, his work ethic. He takes every play out there on the practice field just as serious as he is on 4th and 2 against Ohio State or whoever we're playing. That does not change for him. He's very serious about his work, very serious about his craft. And I think it all starts with him and his prep. From there, he's got a lot of physical attributes that you can't coach. He's got a really strong arm, quick release. He sees the game well. sees the field well. He understands situations. So kind of going on and on about that, could be here all day. But to answer your last thing there, I mean, RPOs are a part of our offense. I think sometimes it's a little misconstrued about how much we do it. But he can do it all. I mean, he can get the ball out quick to our playmakers on the perimeter, makes good decisions, when to throw it, when to hand it off. He does a really good job in the drop back, quick game, play actions, get him out of the pocket, using his legs to his advantage as well. So there's just a lot of different things schematically that we can do to take advantage of his skill set. And then, Coach Whitmer does a great job getting him prepared week in, week out to, anticipate what the defense is doing and get the ball to the right guy or, hand it off when he needs to, so on and so forth.
All right, Mike, wrap us up.
Yeah, hey, Coach. I know Charlie actually committed to the prior staff, and I'm curious, like, what your early interactions with him were like, what your early impressions of him were like, and then, how you've seen him progress to be the high-impact player he's been over the back half of this season.
Yeah, I remember when we first got here, we watched several of the commitments, and Charlie really stuck out. He's a guy that we knew was a good track athlete in high school. Had a good family background. A lot of college athletes in his family, and just getting to know him, you could tell that he loved football, and he had a lot of other opportunities outside of Indiana, and he was a guy that was a priority for us to keep. And really, ever since Charlie got here, he just put his head down and worked. Just really proud of his progression. As a freshman last year, he got a lot of playing time on special teams, in which he still does. I think, even though he's had a lot of success the back half of the year, like you mentioned, special teams has not taken a backseat for him. That's something he takes a lot of pride in. But that really earned a lot of trust with myself and a lot of the other coaches on the staff, going back to last year. And then, this year, he started off camp with a little I think it was a hamstring injury. He missed a little bit of time. And whenever he got back, he just worked his way back up the depth chart, played well in a limited role earlier in the year. And then whenever we had a couple injuries, Surratt mainly, he really stepped up and obviously showcased what he's all about. He's a guy that can run. He's got really good ball skills, good hands. He's tough. He's made a lot of great blocks throughout the year as well. So, he needs to just continue to work hard. Remember what's got him up to this point, but he does a really good job day in, day out with his consistency.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Coach.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.